Hey guys, this is here bringing you another video. So yes, this is the video that I'm sure a lot of people have been waiting for. This is the talk, or my reaction, I guess, to the conversation I had with a rioter. So this is all about the new rank system. That's pretty much the whole only thing we spoke about. We did very briefly kind of discuss what our backgrounds, but it was an hour and 20-minute chat, something like that, and it was pretty much solid about the new rank system. So the first thing I want to say is, who did I talk to, and why, I guess. I talked to the guy that goes by the name of Riot Magic. His official title, if I just read it word for word, is Senior Designer at Riot Games, Product Lead for Matchmaking, Champion Select, and Ranked. So this is like the guy that is definitely one of the head guys who kind of controls the team who is building this. I don't know if he has the final decision of everything, but he's definitely pretty high up. And basically what happened is, just over a week ago, I made the video where I expressed my concerns, and I literally was like, I hate it. Well, apparently that got into Riot's eyes, and people watched it, and then this chat was arranged. And the first thing I want to say is I was greatly, I guess, honoured and really happy that they are looking to talk to players. And it's not just me. Again, I'm not sure if they're speaking to any other YouTubers, but they are and what he did say, they are very open to all feedback. That they are looking on the Riot boards, they are looking at Reddit, they are looking in YouTube comments, they're looking at YouTube videos. They have learnt from the past mistakes. So straight away, that is something as a benefit. So if you guys just tuned into this video, yeah, you can know that this isn't like, this is happening no matter what. We're not going to listen. It's not that situation at all, which is really, really nice. And again, I own on this screen, which I might be looking at quite a lot, I made notes while I was talking to him. And actually this morning, I actually rewatched the whole interview. So I literally rewatched a whole chat/interview for an hour and 20 minutes, making more notes. And I'm not sure how long this video is going to go for. It's probably going to go quite long. And just to kind of make the point of why didn't I... I did record the chat. Why am I not uploading that chat? I know that is obviously going to be a concern from some people. The basic reason behind it is I didn't want the chat itself to feel like a inquiry. I didn't want it to feel like, a lawyer against somebody who's on the stand in court. There's the opposite of what I wanted it to be. So it was fairly casual. It was a fairly casual conversation. And basically what happened a lot of the time is I asked a question, gave my opinion. He talked for quite a long time because again, what you could tell, he really wanted to be diligent. And he really was like, this is exactly what, this is why. And then he asked for my opinion on literally pretty much every single thing. He really wanted to know what I thought. And again, that to me just isn't going to be the most engaging YouTube video. It was a great conversation, and it enables me to kind of learn a hell of a lot, and then talk to you guys what I learned, what are they looking to do, and that type of thing. So that is why, potentially down the line, because he did mention that we will most likely have multiple chats while the system is still getting developed. Potentially down the line, I will then say, hey, let's do an interview style that I will record it to go on YouTube. So that may be in the future. But for the first conversation, I wanted to do a more casual this way. And again, like I said, the conversation lasted about an hour and 20 minutes. That was longer than I thought. I thought this guy, he was giving up his Saturday. They don't work on weekends, and we were speaking on his weekend. And he stayed for an hour and 20 minutes. I thought it would be maybe a half-an-hour conversation just to kind of exchange pleasantries, kind of get their opinions. No, it was a fully fleshed-out conversation. So again, this screen, I've got a lot of notes that we'll be going through as much as we can. So I've got initial notes that will basically spark my memory from the conversation. But what I will say is, if I say anything of this is what they're thinking of doing, it is a thought. It's not 100% confirmed, just to make that very clear. But a lot of the concerns that the community has, not all, but a lot of them, they do have potential fixes for, and we will mention those in today's video. And there are a couple things that they haven't got fixes for yet, or he said, we're not open to discuss it yet. But again, we both left the chat, I think, very happy. He learned a lot from my perspective, and again, a lot of feedback and kind of enforcing feedback that he has learned from the community of the past week. And then I learned some, interesting things of how, the player plays. Again, they have the data that this system doesn't just come out of thin air. So let's just get into it, because why not? So the first question that I basically asked was, why is the system happening, or who asked for it? And the answer is not really anybody asked for it, but again, for stuff to happen, necessarily you don't have to ask for it. So basically, it was made for a couple of reasons, and again, a lot of data was used over the past year that they had, surveys going out and all that type of thing. And basically, the two different components that they were looking at, or more than two, but it's how much do people play and how much do people climb when they play. The pain experience of solo queue or ranked. And then the idea that usually, and again the data shows that the more somebody plays ranked over the years, the less excitement that they get and the less they play because they get burnt out. So the new system, the idea of it, and again we will say the idea of it, whether necessarily that it does it or not, that's another issue, is basically to help in those regards. So to reduce the pain of the experience, a lot of what people think is the pain is the autofill system of whichever team has the no autofill will most likely win. That apparently is about how a lot of the community feels about ranked at the moment. And he said, it started as a meme, but it's a meme that's kind of come true. So again, one of their ideas, and I did confirm that autofill is staying in this new system, but it will autofill you to a rating that your autofill skill is at. So, for example, let's say you're a gold mid laner, but you go and you get autofilled to AD carry. Well, your AD carry skill may be low gold, not high gold, but you'll be in the right skill level for that autofill position. Therefore, hopefully making the game less painful because you do belong there even in your autofill role. That is the idea. Again, I will say autofill is a major thing that we did talk about literally for about 20 minutes. We will flesh that out later on, but I'm just explaining why the new system is happening. Then with also, so that's one, the getting rid of the pain of the experience, which a lot of that pain is apparently through autofill. The next thing is the, getting burnt out. And apparently that, again, shows that people kind of hit their ceiling. They have the data that shows that about a season and a half it takes for an average player to kind of find the rating that they belong at. So they play for a whole season, they play for half a season, and that the general player will get to that rating and they'll probably just kind of stay there unless they do something greatly different. So he said, unless you kind of put a lot of time into learning the game, so you're watching your own replays, you're watching, pro play, and you're actively trying to get better, maybe get a coach, which most people don't. Majority of people don't do that. They just keep playing and kind of doing the same thing and expecting themselves to climb, which doesn't really happen. And then, so what they're looking to do is the new system, that will still happen, but it will basically make and enable people to, I've reached that ceiling of that rating, I can now go into a different rating without punishing myself because it's not of the rating I don't deserve yet. That is the thought process behind it. They think, and again, their idea behind it, and again, is they think this system will increase diversity to when someone gets that, they hit that ceiling, they'll then go on a different role. My point to him was, I actually think the opposite will happen, and he took that as, he said literally, again, sometimes I've got word for word here, they see that as a valid point, but in the current rank system, the vast majority of players only play one or two things. So, like I said, this system I think will just box people more in. That's actually how currently players play anyway. So I imagine most of you watching, if you actually look at your ranked profile, you probably have one or two roles as vast majority of your games. So you right now are kind of already doing what we're worried will happen, but we're not really thinking about it. So that is something that they do know, that they don't 100% want. They further down in my notes, I do have the point, but I guess we can mention it here, is that they don't want only people to be one tricks. They've got the data to show the community doesn't want everybody to be playing the same stuff. The community apparently has a lot more fun when it's a lot broader, and they're hoping with this system it will actually broaden it, not shrink it. Again, it could be wrong. He was very open to the fact that it may not do that, but that is what everything is telling us it will. And again, to the point that, we will speak about it later, is that they do want players to get ranked in multiple areas of a rating. Because they value that as a better player. And it was a very nice thing for me to hear. The guy that's basically in charge of ranked, more or less, agreed with me in the fact that he was like, if you take a Diamond 1 Riven 1 trick and you take someone who's got Diamond 1 in 3 roles, the better player is the Diamond 1 in 3 roles. And me hearing that from the guy that's like in charge of rank, basically, I was like, I just got validated. Yes, so that was nice, and we will talk about that later because that area was a major concern as well. But that's basically why the system is happening: is that it's the pain experience, and it's to when people get burnt out, it's to give them an option to do something else and not get that punished for it. Because if you get, I'm platinum 1 in mid lane. I'm fed up of mid. I can't climb anymore. I'm gonna go AD carry. Well, your AD carry may not be plat 1 rating yet. So you're going to be punishing yourself for playing a different role, but you're also punishing your teammates for when you try a different role in ranked. So the idea is to kind of lessen the punishment so you can expand. Again, that's the idea. Whether that actually is a thing is another thing. That may not happen. So let's talk about the next point. Again, got my notes, so I'm basically just reading through. So yeah, just confirming, a big part is to basically it's a lot of it about getting burnt out. Which again, I did ask the question, are a lot of the changes to do with making people play the game more? And he didn't really confirm or deny it from memory. He basically was like, it's basically just to help the player want to play more or less, which again, I think is a valid thing. Again, as a game designer, you want people to play your game. So in the end of the day, I didn't see that as a bad thing. I think that just is a necessity with how competitive the gaming market is nowadays. So I think that's fine. Okay. Okay, so another point that actually I was interested in, and he mentioned it, was how good are people at their off roles? So again, you can think of yourself right now, but they have, again, the data to back up that a player who is necessarily a one trick or plays one role, given the time, would basically be able to get to the same rating in their off roles. Because again, a lot of what League is about climbing and getting to a certain rating is sure mechanics and stuff, but mechanics are universal. It's knowledge, a lot of it is game knowledge, and if you're getting to a good rating because of your game knowledge, the idea that you can translate that to another rating is very high. It's just going to take you maybe a little bit of time. So they are aware, and they do know that people would be able to get similar ratings on their off roles fairly easily. It probably wouldn't take that much. But majority of the current player base right now plays 1 or 2 roles. A majority right now. One thing that was actually taken in mind, I think a big thing, and he mentioned it a few times, is Clash Mode. So I think Clash Mode has a direct reasoning why this also system is happening. So he mentioned a couple times that he'd say you want to play Clash Mode, which is the new tournament game mode coming, but you've got 2 mid mains and you're similar skill. Well, one of you needs to go on a different role, but you're not going to get good practice, or you're just going to get owned in that role. But if you as a mid main can then go on AD carry and you can start ranking that up, you get yourself good practice for your Clash Mode games. So I think that is partial reasoning to why this is happening. It gives people better practice in roles that they may want to play in Clash Mode. Again, not 100% the reason, but I think there is a factor of that because, Okay, so one of the major concerns as well. So now I guess we're going to go into the concerns of what the community had. And trust me, there was a lot. But they were in mainly 3 different branches. So we can talk about all 3 of them. But generally it was, if I can go over, it was the positional ranked itself. So we'll talk about that. It was the system may make people one trick more, which people don't want, and 2, Riot really doesn't want, and 3, making it seem way more grindy, that you've got to play a lot more games to get to the same point that we currently are, for example. Okay, so let's go into the grindy part first. So they were actually surprised of this feedback probably the most, from what I could tell. He literally said they were heavily surprised with this. Basically, they think they need better communication in expressing how is it going to exactly work, but they do need to improve the system. They are constantly improving, and that is also part of the reason why they announced this so early. Again, they told me not to say about time specifics, but they are hoping that this could get launched in preseason. That's what they are 100% hoping, but it's not a promise. It may not happen, but that's what they're hoping. But again, obviously season 9 is their main goal, but it may not be ready. So basically, throughout the next months, they are going to be doing updates and looking at that feedback a lot, of if their proposed changes are accepted. If it's that kind of fixes it. So the grindy point itself is So again, it's inevitable that if you want to play multiple roles, it's going to basically punish you compared to the current system. Because the current system, you can play multiple roles, but they all build to one role. But if you want to play multiple roles, that is going to be a lot more grindy because you're basically ranking up two roles at the same time. How can you make that less grindy? So obviously one thing to say in itself is the new ranked system, not just role system, but each division or each tier of ranked only has 4 divisions. So gold 5 is now gone. It's gold 4 to 1. So that in itself is going to help a little bit, but obviously now there will also be brand new tiers, which will probably help to rank distribution, to make sure that like bronze doesn't feel as diversive, to make sure diamond doesn't feel as diversive. So that will definitely slow everybody down a little bit. But basically what they're thinking and again, this is mainly, it's not a concern for players who only play one role. Because they only play one role. That's the rating that they want to get. This is a concern that people may play 1 or 2 roles, or who may play more than that. What do they do to help those people? Because it's not apparently the majority, but it's definitely a significant amount of people who want to play a lot of stuff. And are okay doing that. They are, again, thinking of the ideas, so these aren't confirmed, but basically, if everybody knows the system Promo Helper, so it's a lower rating feature, but if you as a lower rating person get to a promotion series and you fail that promotion series, but then you get back into it, you start that promo with 1 free win already. And again, I'm sure most of you agree that promotion series sometimes are the most annoying things when it comes to climbing. So what they are thinking is that when you're in an off role, so, you know, you have your main rank that is the highest rank, and whenever you're not playing that role, you're playing a different role, you will 100% get Promo Helper the first time you go into promo. So it kind of goes, you're a Diamond 5 mid laner, you're now playing in Platinum 3 in top lane. We want to get you to Diamond 5 in top lane because that is where your skill ceiling is for one of your roles. We will give you Promo Helper until we get you to that rating. That's one of the ideas they had, which I was like, yeah, that could potentially help because that makes it less grindy. Again, that's the whole point. So I was like, that potentially could help. But another big thing that, again, this is where the communication needs to get better, is that they are going to be very much adjusting the LP and the MMR and stuff like that. So you can't think of the new system like the current system that, you know, you gain 18 LP and lose 16. It's not apparently going to be like that at all. Again, not specifics, but if you're playing an off role and it is vastly different to your main role rank, the LP gains and losses are going to be adjusted a lot. So again, not specific, just a general example. Let's say right now you're gaining 20 LP, you're losing 16. And let's say if you're on your main role, you're gaining 25, losing 15. When you're playing an off role, you could gain 40, you could gain 50. Just as a random number putting out there, they are going to make you climb a lot quicker, thus lowering the amount of actual games you have to play, especially if you keep winning. But furthermore to that, if you lose a game in your off role, well, they may punish you less as well. That, you know, instead of losing 15, you may lose 5 or 10. So that in itself as well will make it less grindy. So they are definitely working on ways to making it less grindy in combination of potentially the promo helper until you get to the main rank rating, and then also, you know, the LP gains and losses being adjusted. So that's pretty much it. He did say the new system will be slightly easier to climb on your main role than it currently is. And they are trying to make your other positions less grindy. But this is a system that is currently designed for people that only really want to play 2 roles and not really others. Which again, we'll come on to the next point, which is about generalist players, because that is a massive concern. But that's basically it. When it comes to grindiness, they are working on ways to make it better, so it doesn't feel as grindy. And what he said was, realistically, for the average player, the new system will probably feel less grindy, but for some players, it will feel more grindy, and there's not much they can do. And that is to the vast minority of player, that includes myself, of somebody that would class themselves as a generalist. In most ranked seasons, I play 4 roles. I've mained 3 roles in Diamond 1. I've played a hell of a lot of even AD carry, which is my, say, 4th role in Diamond 1 and Diamond 2 over the years. So I've always seen myself more as a generalist, and if I didn't have multiple accounts that I do different stuff on, my main account would probably have a very vast spread of champions. champions. But basically, let's say, for example, I'm in the mood to play AD carry, well, I might just jump on the Unranked to Diamond account and do a Unranked to Diamond episode instead of doing it on my main account right now. But in the current system, obviously, they are trying to get people to want to expand on their one account. But let's talk about generalist players, because, again, they were very surprised, once again, with the amount of people that said about this, of the player that doesn't want to get bogged down in one or two roles all the time. So again, for example, let's say in Season 9, I am very confident that I could get Diamond in pretty much all 5 roles. But let's say for 4 of them, I want to actively play 4 of them. The current system does not work for me. This new proposed system. It doesn't work for me because it's 100% going to make me like climb slower, because if I'm playing one mid game, then one top, then one AD carry, then one jungle, then mid, then jungle, then AD carry. I'm jumping around, so each rating is going to be doing this instead of one rating spiking. So they 100% know that the system does not currently work for this player. And one of the big problems with this is right now that they do not have any incentives for players to even do it. So the right now of how the current role system is the reward of getting Diamond in mid is the exact same as getting Diamond in 3 different roles. And one thing that they are looking at and probably going to do, most likely, is give rewards for people to do multiple stuff. They did experiment, and what I would say, they did, in one of the iterations of the design, there was a kind of forcing people to play multiple roles, but they stood away from that because even though obviously one tricking and one rolling isn't like the 100% say best way for a video game, they don't want to punish people for doing that. And that type of system of forcing people to play multiple roles, that is basically punishing those type of people. So instead of punishing those people, they want to reward the ones that like do want to do stuff. And obviously, again, there's always going to be complaints about that. Like a one trick will go, but I can't get that reward, even though, you know, you'll always get people moaning no matter what. But basically, if we just say, again, this is where he said the point that, like, I think he used a Diamond 1 Riven 1 trick. He used an example of which player is better, a Diamond 1 Riven 1 trick or a Diamond 1 player who plays 3 roles. He said it's the person that plays 3 roles, but the current system is punishing that player, not rewarding that player, and they 100% know that. And when I was hearing that, I was like, okay, they know. They're listening, they're aware of it, and that, again, a lot of my concerns that I was mentioning to him when we were going back and forth, he was addressing all of them. He didn't, like, try to hide away from them all, which I really respected. So basically they are looking at ways to reward the player for doing it. Will it ever feel less grindy is obviously something that I said was like, okay, great, I'll get rewarded for getting Diamond in multiple roles, but is the system ever going to be perfect for me? And the answer was really no, not in its current form. They are still, you know, they are still working on it. So maybe in the few next months, one of the updates, they will do something that may help. And he did say me and him will have continuous chats about it. But the idea of it being less grindy for somebody that wants to play 3 or 4 roles in this role format, it's unlikely it's going to be less grindy. It's probably going to be more grindy. So that's just the way that it is. So yeah, so basically what they want to do for generalist players is reward them, and the idea behind it is, again, just random ideas that he was throwing out there, but it's to differentiate potentially your loading screen border, your summoner icon, or even your profile. So let's say, I don't know, say like you get Diamond. Again, this is just me spitballing here, this wasn't him, but let's say your loading screen has a Diamond 1 role person. It has like 1 Diamond line around your loading screen. And imagine every single time you get another roll to Diamond, it just adds another, like, inner border line in your loading screen border. It adds, like, it differentiates, right? That's basically what it is. And that is what ranked is, by the way, just to make everybody clear. Like, getting the Diamond badge differentiates you. Getting the Master badge differentiates you. So it's about the differentiation per people. And right now, again, the reason why this is an issue with this new system is because right now, our current rank system is all-encompassing. You don't get punished for one tricking, you don't get rewarded for it. You don't get punished for generalizing, you don't get rewarded for it, because it's just the same. Everybody's the same. But a system that you're kind of getting ranked for just one thing, but then you could get multiple role individual ranks to Diamond, for example, that is a differentiation. So they are looking at ways to reward the people that do go the extra mile and do more. with getting obviously multiple ranks in different areas. And like they mentioned earlier, for the people that are like worried about that at all, and like, oh god, I really want that too. Like they mentioned, they have the data, like I said earlier, to back up that the average player who say one tricks or one rolls could definitely get that rating with another role given the time invested. So they are thinking that everybody would be able to do it anyway. It's just whether you would want to or not. For me personally as a player, I would never be able to bog myself down to 1 or 2 roles 100%. I just know I can't. So for me, having the incentive to actually do it and like kind of get different rewards for doing it, to me that's awesome. You know, again, they could do it like different chromas. Hey, you got, you know, it adds, you know, I know some people don't like chromas, but the Victorious skin at the end of the season could have just 8 different chromas, and like you could have like, you know, your flex queue, your 3v3, your solo queue in general, but then you could have, hey, you achieved diamond or you achieved gold plus on 2 rolls or 3 rolls or 4 rolls. Like there's also a differentiation there. So they are definitely looking into it. Like I said, they don't have 100% an answer for generalist players, which again, I wasn't expecting answers to every single question I had. You know, they are still working on it, but they are very much like aware of it, and they were surprised by it, that they didn't realize how many people would be like, what about us who play multiple roles at the same time? So that, yeah, so hearing that they were open to it and looking very much into it, I was like, okay, again, that's all you can really ask for. This is the early part to our conversations and the feedback process. So I was like, fair enough. So there's that. Right, so next point is autofill. So autofill was a major concern for people, because again, they are, like I mentioned earlier, people were like, yeah, but autofill right now, so what I will say is, he used literally the words, autofill is the bulk of the time they've been spending to try and fix or make improvements. So they are very aware of the concerns of autofill with this system. The biggest thing that they want is just to reduce how much people have to autofill, and that has been reducing. About 2 months ago, Sap Magic himself actually released a whole article, dev blog, that showed queue times and autofill statistics, and it is dropping. It's, I think, again, don't 100% quote me, but I think it's about 5% of your games will be autofilled on average. They have the raw data for this, so they are trying to reduce it, but they know right now it's a necessity because queue times. If queue times are too long, player enjoyment, player engagement will go down. So they definitely need the autofill system in its current iteration. You know, I did want to make the point, and again, they will watch this video, so I guess I can make it now, but I just don't think it was appropriate because I don't think it's his area. But I did want to potentially make the point of maybe, because again, it's about support. Like, that's why autofill basically exists, is support. Instead of having an autofill system, potentially they just need to make support more interesting, and then more people will play it, and then they don't even need autofill. Potentially that's just a way to go. But yeah, like we mentioned earlier, one of the reasons, one of the design aspects was like, you know, making it fair even when you're autofilled. Even if you have an autofill player, well, his autofill is actually the same as your main rank. So he does belong in the rating. The problem with that is obviously the backlash has been people won't care if they're autofilled. And this obviously is a major concern that they have. And he said his own team is split. With opinions, which obviously shows that there is an issue. If you don't have a whole design team that kind of agrees, you know it's going to be an issue for the player base, who's probably less rational thinking than a professional design team. So they said some people will care no matter what. You know, they play League to win. They don't care what role they're on. They are here to win. And then again, yeah, there will be the people that kind of like, I don't care. Or they kind of like, oh, I'm tilted anyway. I can use this game to kind of get the tilt out of my system. I can just mess around. They obviously know that's going to be a thing. And my problem, and again, one thing that he didn't really have a reaction to, and again, it's fair to say that they are still developing it, like mentioned, is that they don't have an answer to people not caring about losing. So I said, it's people will always want to win. You know, we're humans. We're competitive people by nature. We will always want to win. But I was like, at the, you know, if it's half an hour into the game and you've got that toxic guy and you're in your autofill role and you don't care about wanting to get that to a high rating, you won't care about losing. Sure, you'll still want to win, but you won't care about losing. And he didn't really have an answer to that. He was like, yeah, he's like, well, currently right now that is kind of the same. Right now you actually get punished for that more because it's your overall rank, but they don't really have an answer to that right now. And And obviously, they could always be punishments in place and stuff like that. But again, when you're punishing a player base for the autofill system, that's a little bit of a dangerous road to go down. But what they're looking to do, instead of punishing, they're looking to reward. So again, these are just ideas, but I think they're very possible ideas of this general thing is going to happen. So they are talking about when you get autofilled, or like it's either you get autofilled or when you're on an off roll, they are calling it LP splash. So basically, let's say you're a mid lane main and you get autofill to support, and you win that support game. You win the autofill game. They're talking about an LP splash system that basically rewards the rank that you actually queued up for. So if you queued up for mid and you got autofill to support, well, you won that game, we're going to still reward you for mid lane. Because it does show that you're wanting to win, you're wanting to climb in your mid lane role, even that you didn't get it this game. And again, there are a few ways about that they're going to potentially go with this. Again, none of them are confirmed yet, but one is an actual, like, splash. That, let's say, in your support game, you gain 25 LP. Well, 5 of it may make its way onto your main role. So 5 of it goes to your mid lane role. Or 10 of it, who knows. But they're talking about that potentially. The next thing is a bonus scheme. So, hey, you won your last autofill game. The next game you win on your main role, you get bonus LP because you won. Or they then talked about, and I think this next one is the one that won't happen, but he said, we did have this crazy idea of a betting token system of you can bank 3 tokens when you win a autofill game. So per autofill victory, you get 1 token up to 3. When you're in champion select and you're on your main role and you think you're going to win, you could bank one of these tokens to get bonus LP. Which, again, is a very interesting idea, but I said to him, you are very much overcomplicating a very basic rank system. And he was like, yeah, that's probably why that won't happen. But he does also see that concern that we are complicating a lot of stuff, making it, like, you know, a lot more than it currently is. And he said the idea over the next few months is to streamline all this stuff to make it back to being basic, that it's not complicated to the average player. I was like, okay. So I think, and again, he really wanted to know my opinion. Again, all these topics, he really wanted to know what I thought, which was, again, really nice. Because, again, I should have made it clear at the beginning of the video. I'm someone that's played ranked since Season 1. I was a casual player for the first 2 seasons, then Diamond for Season 3 and beyond. So I've got more ranked experience than most people in League. Like, I've got more ranked time than 99% of the player base. I've got more ranked experience than this guy himself. He started, I think, in Season 4. So he's very, very experienced, but I have seen more change. I've played with more change. So I'm never scared of change. But he said, which one do I think would be better? And I said it would be dangerous to just award people LP, I think. Because what happens if a guy is on 98 LP on their main role, you give them splash XP because they got autofilled, are they just suddenly in promo? How will that work? So I was like, I think that's a bit dangerous. But then at the same time, I was like, it's also dangerous if you're doing a bonus system, because imagine you get autofilled, you win your autofill game, but then the next game you do get your main role and you lose that game, that will feel awful. Because then you're literally not gaining for your main role at all for 2 games. It was like, that is a big concern we have. And obviously that goes to potentially just giving people LP on their main role, because obviously that will make them feel that they are achieving something. And I was like, potentially, but again, I do think it's a little bit dangerous just giving people LP. So again, it's not fully fleshed out. This is a big area that they are working on. Arguably the biggest area that they think there is a problem. But yeah, so they are very aware of this is something that they need to improve. And then really the last kind of like 15-20 minutes was talking about how people could abuse it, because they are very open and to the idea that people will abuse this new system, as in role swapping, or you duo queue and you just swap with your duo queue all the time, or the whole like, oh, I'm in my off position, I don't care, I'm just going to troll or int because that doesn't punish my main role. They are very aware of all these things, and we basically just spoke the last 20 odd minutes about these type of things. So let's talk again. One thing, again, I want to make it very clear every single time I say, is these aren't 100% confirmed. These are just their thoughts. And I did ask, you know, is there anything in this video that I'm not allowed to speak about? He was like, no, you can basically say everything. So the role swapping, and again, this was a big concern of people, because what happens if a diamond player wants to rank up their off role and goes into a champion select and goes, hey, I'm diamond in mid, you're gold in top, let's swap because I want to get my top lane rating higher. That can't happen. basically, is the answer. It won't happen. So a lot of people, and again, I guess I read it, but I didn't fully adjust it and maybe absorb it, and maybe the communication wasn't as good, is alongside this new role system, they are releasing a new, basically like matchmaking system that can kind of detect players a lot better. So they can detect smurfs, they can detect people in off roles a lot better than it currently can. So the way that it's going to work, if when people role swap, again, potentially, it does seem that this was fully, like, it did seem he knew a lot about this, so that it does seem this is likely to me, that if you're a mid lane, diamond mid lane, and you want your top lane rank to go, and you go and champion say, hey, let's swap, there is basically no reason to do that for the person who you're trying to swap with. So if you're the higher rating player and you're talking to the low rating player, the low rating player has very little incentive to do that. Why? Because you're not going to gain the rank for your main role in that aspect. So again, hopefully I don't confuse people here at all, but you're diamond mid, but you're wanting to get your top lane role higher. So you're queuing up as top. In a champion select, you say, hey, let's swap. If you swap in champion select, you're officially swapping your role. You're not simply like, you know, just swapping the characters and kind of, you go mid, I'll go top. You are in the system in place that you are officially swapping role. So the person that was actually given top, he's actually now going to be officially given mid. And that is the rating that he'll either lose rating for or gain rating for at the end of the game. So it's not like what it currently is. It's not like the current system that like you can just swap and nothing happens. It will detect that you have swapped, and the rating that you get at the end of the game will be for the swapped position. So, for example, you want to swap with somebody who is trying to get their main role higher. They won't do it because they want their main rank to be higher, and they have no incentive to swap to you to an off role because they don't want that off role to be higher. So that's just one thing, is that the system will know. Furthermore to that, because the system will know, because again, this will still happen. Like the guy said, yeah, the people will still swap, is the MMR, the LP gains and losses will also adjust. So if you're a diamond player then swapping, the system knows you're a diamond player in one of the roles. And then, you know, you're playing that role, you swapped around, the system knows it, and let's say you win the game, well, maybe you'll only gain 5 LP, because the system was like, hey, you swapped, you're not supposed to be in this game, so it will reward you very little. Hey, you lost the game that you swapped, and you're supposed to win it easily, we're gonna smack you down and punish you really badly. So it knows. Basically, the whole thing with the role swapping issue is it will know if you're role swapping. So that is great. Next thing was the duo queue abuse. Now again, he did have a crazy idea for it, which I don't think will happen, but his crazy idea for it will be, if again the new system seems to be fairly intelligent, it will know if you're somebody that constantly swaps, and it will know if you constantly swap with a duo queue. What they're looking at potentially, and again, a crazy idea would be, hey, you swap in most of your games with your duo queue partner, we don't like that. We're going to merge all your ratings together and average them out again. So basically, you just have no incentive to do that anymore, because it will take your highest rating and kind of just go, whoop, stop swapping. So again, that's a crazy idea. That may not happen, but they are looking at ways to basically reduce the risk of that. But obviously, they do know that it does exist, that people duo queue who are very similar rank, and obviously they don't really want to be punished if they have their own little ranks. So they are going to be looking at ways to not punish it, and, you know, kind of sort out who's kind of abusing it and who's using it for its intended purpose. So that's also happening, so they will look at that. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Like, a lot of the concerns that the community has is Riot is aware of them. Like, it was nice that, like, there wasn't of like a, oh god, yeah, we didn't think of that. That didn't really happen. It was more like, yeah, we know, and maybe me talking to him, I probably helped him kind of understand it maybe a bit more. Especially like the generalist point, because I think they were very underestimating people's concern with that. And one thing I will say finally is, again, this is a spectacle that we actually didn't talk about, but I have spoken to quite a lot of people over the past couple of weeks, and it's more of a psychological thing that I don't think that this system will fix. But especially, and this goes to One Tricks, and I have spoken to quite a lot of One Tricks about it. Like I said earlier, is even this guy who is the head of ranked believes that one tricks aren't as good as people who can play multiple roles. Like, to me, that's just an obvious thing, but to one tricks themselves, that is not the case. The average one tricks thinks that they are that rating and they deserve that rating, and obviously in the new system they are going to be shown as that rating for that one role or whatever. There could be negative psychological effects to people who are one tricking and then seeing other people rank up in different areas who are getting rewards for that, and if they can't achieve that yet, that may have a negative effect. And obviously I wouldn't be that sad about it, because it will be basically it's basically bumping people in the right direction of going, hey, you should play multiple roles if you want to get these nice rewards. But again, it doesn't punish people for not doing that. So I think that is an area that definitely will be interesting to look at when and if this system comes. And the final thing that I probably should have said at the start of the video is basically I asked the question, is this system 100% going to happen, or is there a chance that it just won't happen? It's not 100%. They know that a lot of the community has concerns, and he said, a lot of the concerns come in like 4 different areas. There are just players that just flat out hate this. Like there's no conversation. They just don't do it, or I'm gonna quit. Because then players exist, and a lot of them potentially, again, I know, a lot of them just are saying it. They're scared of change. But then he was like, then generally it's the 3 different areas of concern that, either players have the concerns in all 3 areas, which like I do, or people have like one concern that we definitely need to fix. And he was like, it's the positional ranks, the role swapping, the duo queue abuse, and the, autofill. It's like, that's a big area. Making people potentially specialize more. People are worried it's going to create more one tricks, where obviously they want to reward people for not doing that. And then finally, making it more grindy. People are worried that they're going to have to play more games. They're like, if we can fix these 3 issues to the point that the community is like, okay, then yeah, the system will happen. But if they can't fix it to the point, or change it to the point that that's a thing, it potentially just won't happen. They're definitely, and again, I said, is there a world that it doesn't happen? He's like, there is a world that the role ranked system doesn't happen, but the rest of the stuff does. And I was like, that's fine with me. Like, that is my dream. That, the 3 different splits happen, the new placement games happen, the new detecting system happens that detects smurfs and adjusts the LP and stuff easier. That stuff's great. It's just the role rank that I take issue with. And again, when I left this conversation, was I convinced that role is ranked is good? No. Was he convinced that it won't ever work? No. That wasn't the point of this conversation. It was basically just a talk to learn each other's perspectives and just to get answers to questions and like have ideas kind of floating around. The final thing is, again, he said there are 2 things that potentially could happen. So actually 3. So in its current iteration, they could just fix all the problems and it doesn't change too much, but they fix it and people generally are happy with it, and that just happens. Hey, this is the new rank system, we fixed it, there's not much complaints, there you go. Again, there'll always be some complaints. There's complaints about the current system. The next thing that could happen is they do a more hybrid system. So he literally said that we could do a system that we keep the individual role ranks, like your matchmaking for them, but they all go to 1 rating. So like the system that we currently have, we have 1 rating, but he's like, we could do that, but basically make, whenever you queue for a different role, you get a different MMR type game, but it all goes to 1 rating. Obviously that could get a little bit messy, but at least everybody would have that 1 rating, so then the autofill issue kind of disappears because you have that 1 rating that you always care about. That's a definite example that could happen. And he was like, that does lessen the goal that we have in mind, but if that's a compromise that we have to do, then that potentially could happen. So yeah, like I mentioned, is we have 1 role, but each different role that you queue up for has a different MMR. So it's a bit odd, but you could be, I guess, diamond ranked, and your mid lane is diamond MMR, but your top lane is platinum, but it will all be helping towards the same rank as an overall player. Basically just to make the game more competitive in itself, which again, I don't think is bad, but it's going to be a bit weird. The higher rating you go, you're going to be gaining LP for a rating that isn't supposed to be there. But again, that's how, LP adjustments could happen. Again, it's a weird system, but potentially if they flesh that out more, that could work. And again, just to kind of say, this system, even role ranked everything, isn't even in Master and above. They was like, the higher rating player base is different, and he did acknowledge the higher rating player base is different to the rest. It was like, for a long time, we treated everybody the same. And he's like, dynamic queue was a good example of that. And it just didn't work for high rating players. And we did adjust it, but it was too late. So right now, I will say that the whole design of Riot Games is taking into account that higher rating is just different. So I think that's healthy because it is different. You know, there's no hiding it. The game is a vastly different game in higher rating. And then the final point that he was like, so either we fix the problems in its current state and people are happy with it, that happens. Next thing is it could just go to a overall rank, but with your different MMRs within each rank, within each role itself. Or the third thing is it doesn't happen. We don't fix it and we don't get it to a point that the player base is comfortable with. We're not comfortable with it, so it just doesn't happen. Those are the three options right now, pretty much. So I was like, okay. So again, for hearing the guy that's kind of in charge of it kind of going, you know, it may not happen, to me was like not music to my ears, because I know as a game designer they want this to be good, and it's all about the health of the game. If they genuinely think this is healthy for the game, I do kind of trust them in a way. But it's nice to kind of hear that they're not like, dynamic queue, this is happening, like, if you go. So that was nice too. So what I would say is it's very important to continue giving your feedback. Is that this chat that I had, the changes that they are looking to implement and they are very much looking into, is all from the feedback that you guys gave. On Reddit, on the boards, in videos, in my comment section, all of it. Me making videos, other YouTubers making videos. Like, that is literally what this is from. So over the next few months, continue giving your feedback. In this comment section, give your feedback, because again, they're 100% going to watch this video. So do that. Like, that is what they're looking for. They are looking to build a system with the player base, not against the player base, which was amazing to hear. But that's pretty much it. So hopefully you guys enjoyed. Like I mentioned, this was the first ever conversation that I had with a Rioter about this type of, like, you know, very in-depth rank system. To actually be involved with talking to the guy that's in charge of making a rank system for millions of players, and I'm like, I'm talking to him and giving my feedback and sharing opinions, was like, this is crazy. Which to me was a very big, like, it was a big moment for me, because I love League. You guys know I love League. I've built a YouTube channel around it. This is my job. I played since Season 1. I've watched the esports scene grow. And a lot of it, if you look at all of what League has achieved, a lot of it is on the backbone of Ranked. Is that all the players that you love, you know, especially the Western players, they were solo queue players. So to make the solo queue experience, Ranked experience, the best, is what everybody wants. Including me, including him. So again, I'll just say again, thank you for him to give me the opportunity to do it. I loved the call. It went longer than I thought, which I was very happy about. You know, that was amazing. And yeah, there's going to be more calls in the future. You know, again, I didn't say it to him, but if they ever wanted to invite me to LA, I wouldn't say no. You know, I'll pay for my own flights. I don't care. But yeah, no, to me, to have an open forum, and now I've got 100% a communication line with somebody that high up in Riot. You know, I know other Rioters, but like someone that directly is making change of this magnitude is awesome. And obviously I don't think of myself any more important than you guys. It's just I've got a voice that I can use on this platform to express what Riot now are thinking. And that's what he said. He's like, I can't answer everything that people throws at me, because like, if I can have meetings with YouTubers and then they can kind of express the messages, and as long as they're actually expressing the message, which I'm pretty sure I did, I don't think I misrepresented him at all. But this is where some people say, oh, just upload the actual chat. So what I will say, and also the comment section, leave all your feedback on the changes that I've said that they're potentially doing, but also answer the question, the next chat that me, and I think his name is Ed, is that his actual name? Yeah, Ed. The next chat that we have, what do you want me? Do you want me to do what I've just done? That I basically, you know, just talk about how did it go and give my own kind of feedback and that type of thing? Or do you want me to actually have like an interview style? Let me know. Because again, I wanted it, the first chat, I wanted it to be relatively chill and not kind of like a interrogation. But now that we've had the initial chat, I reckon even if we do an interview style, it'll be a lot more chill anyway. Because both of us know what to expect from each other now. So that's it. Hope you guys enjoyed. Please throw a like on the video. Comment down below all your thoughts and your opinions. And I'll see you guys next time. See ya.